The runner entered Lord Kenra's lodge and bowed before the warlord. "My lord, we have word of Laguerre's forces. They arrived in Brightwind Cove." "Excellent," Kendra interrupted. "We shall catch them in the cove and destroy them." "It is not needed, my lord," the runner continued. "Apparently the elves of Port Gervion had claimed the cove, and when the Equitaine arrived, a battle broke out. The elves routed Laguerre's forces, and then withdrew from the cove." Lord Kentra laughed. "This is even better. See how Savar punishes those who strike against their betters. Now tell Drexel to gather his men and leave for Brightwind Cove immediately." "But, my lord, the Aquitaine are gone." "They will not stay away for long. The land of the cove is sacred to their weakling goddess. No doubt they go to bury the fool that killed my brother in the mausoleum that is there. By the time they arrive, Drexel will have built a throne from the skulls of their honored dead, and they will have no choice but to battle. We shall yoke their rage to lead them to the slaughter." All right, so we have another narrative battle for you guys, introducing yet another new army to the narrative. Lord Kenra and his warriors of the dark gods in service to Savra, the god of pride, versus the kingdoms of Equitaine. This is a 4,000 point narrative battle, and we did remember to use a secondary objective this time. It is the breakthrough objective, which, in my opinion, puts me at a decided disadvantage because I'm much slower with all my scoring units than my opponent is. But we will see how that goes. Let's go ahead and get into deployment. All right, starting on the left, we have a unit of the Yeoman Outriders, 5 of those with a musician. Next to that is a unit of the Knights Forlorn, I think is what they're called. Yes, Knights Forlorn. There's 20 of them. They are carrying full command. Next to that is a unit of Knights of the Realm. There are 9 of them. In that unit is the damsel who is serving as the army's general. She is a wizard master with 4 spells to the lore of druidism, so it seems like I can't get away from that lore tonight. And that's it. She doesn't have anything else on her. And all right, so next to that, spread 5x2, which was a little interesting to me, is a group of 9 Knights of the Quest with full command. They have the banner of the last charge, and hanging out with them is the questing paladin, who is the battle standard bearer for the army, and he has the armor of destiny on him. Behind that is a trebuchet. Next to that is another unit of 9 Knights of the Realm. They have full command and the banner of speed. Next to that is the Scorpion, the little bolt thrower thing, which is actually my dwarf's bolt thrower, so I felt it was a little rough for him to use my own model to murder me, but he doesn't have his put together yet. Then we've got a unit of Peasant Levy, 20 strong, with full command. Then there is a second Peasant Levy with 20 strong and full command. And then a second unit of Yeoman Outriders with musician on the far side. Alright, so my army, we're going to start right to left. I have a Wasteland Giant who is a Chosen of Lust on the far side. Then on the other side of the ruins, I have a unit of 3 Crusher Knights with full command and the Rending Banner. Then I have a unit of 15 Wasteland Warriors, Mark of Wrath, with paired weapons and full command. Then I have a unit of 6 Wasteland Trolls of Pestilence. Then I've got a little dart of 5 Warhounds. That Vanguard, I don't know if that's basic or I paid for that. I'm still learning the army. Then I've got another unit of 15 Wasteland Warriors. These guys are marked Change, which I'm having as a stand-in for Pride until which time as the new book comes out. Um, in that unit is a Anointed Harbinger of Chaos. He has the Mark of True Chaos on him. Talisman of Shielding, the Crown of Scorn, and the Aether Icon, so he serves as my battle standard bearer and all my magic defense. And he has the Wilding Blood, so he essentially can act as general for the trolls and the dog units. And then hiding behind the building, because I'm dumb and I forgot Demon Princes have Towering Presence, is Drexel. He is my Demon Prince of Change. He is pretty much my biggest weapon against the Knights because he's wielding the Obsidian Sword, which gives him Armor Pierce 6. He has the Third Eye of Change, so he's got a 4-up ward save, and has the Waste Hardened Skin, which gives him an extra point of innate defense. And here is after my Vanguard. I decided to go ahead and send the dogs up so they can start getting in the way of these knights, because I really don't want to eat 2 or 3 knight attacks at one go. So I dropped everything first because narratively it made sense because my guys were there waiting for him, so I got first turn. And I run my giant straight towards his lines. The big reason I'm doing this, I really don't much care about these peasants, but I know my opponent does. Skip loves his peasants. But more, I want the war machines shooting at the giant and not my demon prince. The demon prince is frankly really weak, like way weaker than I remember them being, which I guess is fair because they used to be just busted as all get out in the game that should not be named. But either of these war machines could take out my demon prince, so I just need a distraction. And over here, I bring everybody up. I kind of want to tempt him out. I want to see if he's going to take some rash charges and still have support. So I've got kind of this jagged line to see where he's going to go, and I should still be able to get charges in response, provided he doesn't hit something and just blow straight through it. And up here, I bring the Demon Prince up because we figure out that Demon Prince has Towering Presence, so it doesn't matter if I hide him, so I might as well bring him up to do something. And during Kingdoms of Aquitaine turn 1, my opponent decides to go ahead and take the bait. He looks at it, sees that that I left enough room if he blows through these dogs to get into the warriors behind him with my BSB and all my magic defense. The problem is, I don't think he realizes that with the length of his unit, even if he does that, I'm still going to get flank charges off on him. So we'll see where that goes. Over here, he brings out his yeoman to try and bait away my Crusher Knights into all of the damage he has over here. And then he starts bringing pressure on this side. He's bringing up the Questing Knights, because the way he's thinking about it is the Questing Knights are probably the best thing to deal with the Demon Prince, which is certainly true. The other big thing is I don't think he has any flaming attacks in the whole army. So he's going to have some trouble dealing with the trolls. Then he starts getting magic off. He ends up popping a ridiculously high roll for the throne, the Oaken Throne, and I didn't want to throw all my dice to try and get rid of that, but I knew he was going to get some spells off, so I went ahead and I threw my crown to stop him from getting that off. And then he popped Ensnaring Roots on my warriors back here, which I decided to go ahead and take because I didn't really care, because they've got hand weapons and shields, so it's not going to make him hit me any better. And then he throws Stone Skin on his knights that are coming, and I tried to stop it. I promise, I really did. But I rolled like garbage. I want to say he threw 3 dice at it, and I threw 5, and I still failed. So Um, yeah, these are toughness 5 knights coming in, which may end up causing me more problems. I'm not entirely sure. He ends up getting the bolt thrower to shoot my giant in the face, but then only gets 1 wound through. And in combat, he does exactly what he should have done. The dogs are a greasy spot under those knights. But again, like I said, now I've got flank charges with both the Demon Prince and the Trolls. And I'm pretty sure the bear trap that I'm about to close on his head is going to finish that unit off. At least I hope so. So, Warriors of the Dark Gods turn 2, I do exactly as advertised. Bring those guys in. I run the other dogs up to kind of run interference in case something goes wrong and this fight is still going on his turn. And over here, I decided to go ahead and take the bait and charge the yeoman. And I figured he was going to flee. If he had fled, my plan was to try and redirect into the flank of his questing knights. I would have run the risk of the dangerous terrain through the field that's in the center, but I was willing to take that chance. And then my opponent, I guess he saw what I was going to do and decided, you know what, screw that. I'm going to stick. So he stays there. You can also see my giant up there, which I'll explain here in a second. Yeah, there's the better picture. So, Giant charges the first unit of peasants who are outside of the range of getting the knight leadership. So they break from terror. I redirect into the second unit, they stick, and I make the charge. I got nothing else during my turn to do, so we go into combat, and the fact that he actually had the 5 toughness helped. I couldn't kill the unit. In fact, if I look at it, I think I only did 4 wounds. And I think he killed 1 or 2. What is that? 4, 9, 10, 11, 12. So yeah, he must have killed a few, 3 of the warriors during the combat, so it kind of evened out. But it was enough with the static res and the fact that he was not getting any ranks because of the trolls on him. He ends up breaking. I made the decision here only to pursue with the trolls because I figured I didn't want to essentially hand up my Demon Prince to his charging knights if that's how he wanted to do it. Because if I had caught him, he could have brought me in. So either way, I rolled like garbage on the pursuit, and he gets away to this point. Obviously, the Crusher Knights paced the yeoman, but now I'm in a bad situation. The way I'm looking at it right now, I'm staring down a bolt thrower in my flank, and he could bring in that other unit into my flank, which is probably the more destructive point at this point. Over here, the giant swings. I think he swings his club, beats up a bunch of peasants. They actually inflict 1 wound on him because he doesn't have much in the way of defenses, and they're freaking halberd wielders. But he's got enough ranks on him so that he's not going or that he's stubborn and doesn't go anywhere. Over here, Kingdom of Aquitaine turn 2 starts off with no charges. I guess he's going to let the bolt thrower finish me off over here. And then he's like, peasants rally, and they turn around because apparently a giant is not terrifying to them. However, his knights are not made of as stern stuff as his peasants. He fails to rally his general's unit. They flee, hit both of these units, balance and bounce here, which puts them right in line with where the giant's going to go. That could not have been worse for my opponent if I had planned it. Because not only does he run the risk of losing that if I win this combat, but he also doesn't get a magic phase this turn because his damsel's in that unit as well. Over here, he decides to go ahead and bring his yeoman around and block me up. He's kind of not sure what to do now that happened. But he figures the yeoman will at least kind of cause me a turn or so of trouble before he can get into me. Then he fires with the bolt thrower and screws the pooch on it. Only ends up inflicting a single wound on my Crusher Knights. And then over here, the giant beats up a bunch of more peasants. They are not stubborn anymore. They do inflict one wound back to me, but I think he auto breaks with the number of wounds I did. And the overrun is enough to not only catch the peasants, but I touch his fleeing unit and kill them as well. So then we go to Warriors of the Dark Gods turn 3. I decide to go ahead and send the giant to go deal with the trebuchet that literally hasn't been able to hit anything all game. The Crusher Knights over here go to destroy that last peasant unit, which is just going to happen. I charge the trolls into the yeoman. He decides to stick again. I guess he's hoping that I'll kill them and maybe overrun and give him a sweet flank charge. I'm not sure what he's thinking at this point. And then I move the dogs up further to prevent that from happening, if that's his thoughts. And then I move my Demon Prince over here into the flank of his Knights Forlorn, which have just kind of been sitting here and watching the carnage. Go into combat. Obviously, the giant crushes the trebuchet. Obviously, the Crusher Knights kill the peasants, but they do overrun because they're frenzied and run off the board. And the trolls just absolutely murder the yeoman, and I choose not to overrun. KOE goes next. He's deciding it's time to throw down into something. So he charges his questing knights into the dogs to clear that up. If he kills them and overruns, like, it's a long distance he's got to overrun, but it is theoretically possible for him to hit my change warriors with my BSB in the back if he rolls really well once he destroys them. And over here he brings the other Knights of the Realm into the front of my Wrath Warriors. With his armor, I figure, I mean, he's got 3 ups on everything. I'm thinking this could be bad for me. He can do a decent amount of wounds, and if he can get me to break, then he's got this pretty strong unit behind my lines, and that could be a little scary. He turns around with the bolt thrower and shoots my giant, leaving him with 1 wound remaining, so the giant has not died yet. And then the questing knights brutally murder the dogs and end up in the absolutely worst position they possibly could be. He just didn't overrun very far at all. And what's happening now the trolls, the change warriors, and my demon prince, because of the way he reformed his Knights Forlorn to look at him, can squeak by and slam into this questing knight unit, and they're going to have a horrific day. And then, holy crap, did the dice go my way. He ends up hitting me, but I swing first, and my opponent can't roll armor saves very well. So I kill all but 4 of the knights before they get to swing with their lances. And then, because I got the paired weapons, I get that bonus. And then he ends up hitting back and only inflicts a single wound after everything's said and done. Yeah, it's almost embarrassing. So Warriors of the Dark Gods turn go. He doesn't break there, so no worries. I decided to go ahead and just run the giant up to say peekaboo to the Knights Forlorn. And as you can see, I charged everything else into that unit of questing knights. We go into combat. Oh, and you also see I brought my crushers back on the board. We go into combat. He does nothing to me. I kill 2 more knights. I win the combat. This time he breaks. He runs, but I don't catch him. And then here, I absolutely murder this unit. I kill them, everything except for his BSB, and he inflicts 1 wound in return. He actually auto breaks and is run down by everything, and that's where my opponent throws in the towel. Duke Laguerre placed his hand over the fallen damsel's face, closing her cold eyes for the last time. He had sent word for her and her troops to proceed to the chapel to prepare for the burial. He had had no idea that the vile god's forces had laid in wait for them. By the time Laguerre heard of the battle, it was far too late. Her forces were not prepared for what they faced, and had no idea of the power that the dark gods provided them. It was a slaughter. "Sir Darius!" Laguerre cried out to his second. "Yes, sir," the standard-bearer responded, walking quickly to his lord's side. "Dispatch a yeoman to the rest of my forces. Have them gather at Weeping Stones Falls. The dark god's scum will pay for this transgression against us. Our Lady will require retribution for the defiling of her holy lands here, and I will be her hand of vengeance." "As you command, my lord. But what of the highborn?" "Send Sir Fontaine and his Pegasus guard to the mountains. We shall tell the dwarves of the dark god's incursion into their lands, and offer our assistance in their own confrontations with the elves. I will meet with his king to negotiate, or to their king to negotiate if needed. Dark times are coming, and we shall surely need allies if we are to survive." All right, so obviously with the surrender, the victory goes to the Warriors of the Dark Gods. Surrender in the top of turn 4. This is what the board looks like after everything is said and done. This was a fun game for me. Certainly not so much for my opponent. For me, I was really aggressive in this game, I think, in part because the last game we played, which was Battle Report 150, we were so not aggressive, so I wanted to just go and smash face into something. So it was good I was playing Warriors of the Dark Gods for that purpose. But it was what it was. My opponent he made a couple of tactical errors, just kind of not recognizing certain things, and then got screwed by a couple of bad rolls. So you put the two things together, and it turned bad. Again, this was another situation, though, that when we are playing with objectives, they don't matter. Because, I mean, I had 2 turns to march one of my scoring units into his side of the board, which would have easily happened, and because he had nothing left to deal with me. But I like this build. I still think the Demon Prince is probably a little too squishy for general use. I kind of wanted to do this one for the lulz. My Lord Kenra for this army is actually going to be my caster on a disc that I just love using. Which, of course, means I'm going to be doing more heavy magic, which is okay, because I figure if a follower of the God of Pride wouldn't care about the miscast table anyway. So, all in all, it was a good game. I definitely like the trolls. I didn't really play with them very much in 8th edition, so it's kind of fun to see what they do now. And it was fun to get my giant on the board. This is the first time since I finished painting him that I got my Warriors giant on the board, so that's always a lot of fun. And he did pretty good for himself. I wouldn't want to throw him into any actually good qualified combat units, but he's certainly fun for picking up the mess. And the +2 extra movement for him being Chosen of Lust is really awesome, but I don't know that it's 120 points awesome, which is what it costs. But I hope you guys enjoyed this one. Please leave a like, comment, and subscribe if you are so inclined. Otherwise, we will catch you on the next one. Thanks.